Welcome back to my vRealize video series. In last video we have learned how creating non-VM object through XaaS.
In this video we will demonstrate how XaaS can be used to present Puppet as a part of converged blueprint to install and configure Apache, PHP, MySQL and WordPress on the newly provisioned virtual machine. XaaS, formerly known as Advanced Service Designer, brings new features and capabilities to vRealize Automation 7. With XaaS, anything that can be automated through vRealize Orchestrator, workflow can be presented and consumed as a service, opening the worlds of possibility to extend vRealize Automation. The most powerful new feature is the ability to leverage XaaS in the converged blueprint designer. Now you can simply drag and drop XaaS blueprints from the library directly into design canvas to create complex blueprint in a minute. In this video we will walk through creating an XaaS blueprint from a vRealize Orchestrator workflow that leverage Puppet to install Apache, PHP, MySQL and WordPress on the target virtual machine. Then we will use the XaaS blueprint in development of the converged blueprint that deploys the WordPress application. vRealize 7 with XaaS can take advantage of the third-party configuration management tools like Chef and Puppet that you may already leverage in your environment. In this case we will be using Puppet, which has been installed and configured in the environment. So what we have already here: Puppet plugin installed on the Orchestrator from the Orchestrator Control Center, Puppet modules installed in Orchestrator, Apache and WordPress modules were added to the Puppet master. PowerShell host is configured. The rules XaaS architect and the catalog administrator were added to the Cloud Admin user orchestrator workflows and XaaS. vRealize Orchestrator is the engine that drives XaaS, but it can be leveraged in other way too. In this video we will use 4 different orchestrator workflows. One will be presented as an XaaS blueprint, the remaining 3 are presented as workflow subscriptions. That is Puppet building machine, Puppet machine provisioned, Puppet node classification, Puppet machine disposing. Take a look closer to vRealize Orchestrator to see what each one does. The Puppet building machine workflow is pretty straightforward. It adds the virtual machine to the DNS. This workflow is presented as a subscription and will be the first to be executed upon provisioning. The Puppet machine provisioned workflow is a little more complex. It does the following: install Puppet agent on Linux virtual machine, configures the Puppet agent, signs the node CSR on the Puppet master, runs remediation on the node via SSH. This workflow is also presented as subscription and will be the second to be executed upon provisioning. The Puppet node classification is the key ingredient in the XaaS blueprint in this module. This workflow passes a set of Puppet classes and parameters that will tell Puppet what to install on the virtual machine. This workflow will do next. This workflow passes a set of Puppet classes and parameters that will tell Puppet what to install on the virtual machine. This workflow will do next. Converts the list of submitted classes and parameter into the class list. Registers the node with the appropriate class or classes. Depending on the classification, downloads the appropriate manifest. The Puppet machine disposing workflow is also straightforward. It removes the virtual machine from DNS after it is deprovisioned. This workflow is also presented as a subscription. Now it's time to take a look at the workflow subscriptions. Log into VRA as Cloud Admin. Navigate to Subscriptions from the Administration tab. A workflow subscription allows you to create a set of conditions that will trigger the workflow to execute, or it could be set to run all events. This is a great way to automate the use of the certain workflows. Here there are subscriptions to 3 vRealize orchestration workflows: Puppet building machine, Puppet machine disposing, and Puppet machine provisioned. All of those will be used during the provisioning of the WordPress blueprint we will deploy. In the Puppet machine provisioned, the Event Topic tab presents an overview of the workflow subscription and schema. In condition, you can see conditions what must be met in order for this workflow to be run.
The criteria could include any number of things such as name, ID, lifecycle style, description, username, etc. Take a look at conditions of this workflow. Data blueprint name conditions Puppet. Data lifecycle state name, equival must meet this. Data lifecycle state phase, equival post. The first condition ensures this workflow will only be executed on the blueprints that have Puppet in their name. That's simple but effective. Workflow tab for this subscription shows us where an orchestrator workflow is selected for the subscription. In this case, the workflow is Puppet machine provisioned. The name, description, and input parameters are displayed on the right side. And the finally Details tab contains details about workflow subscription, including name, priority, timeout, description and blocking, etc. Let's go through an XaaS blueprint creation steps. We will create new XaaS blueprint. The Workflow tab allows you to browse available orchestrator workflows and see their respective details. Our new XaaS blueprint will use the Puppet node classification workflow. On the General tab, read this information and input your version number. The blueprint form is generated based on the inputs required by the orchestrator workflow you selected. In this case, the Puppet node classification workflow was selected. Cancel this request. That was only demonstration to build an XaaS blueprint from an orchestrator workflow in order to present Puppet as a service that can be easy. We had to see that XaaS blueprint is capable of passing Puppet classes. Now we will build a new blueprint that takes advantage of all the XaaS goodness in order to deploy and configure a single machine WordPress virtual machine. I will name it Corp WordPress Puppet. In description I will put single machine with Puppet. Archive 5 days and click OK. First, add new virtual machine. I will call this simple CentOS. I will change machine prefix to dev. On Build Information tab, blueprint type is server, action is a linked clone, clone image is Linux base 01A, clone from snapshot is application authoring snap, and answer file is CentOS. I will add existing network and set parameters to external default network. Next, we need to link virtual machine to this network. Now click on Access section and add Puppet node classification to blueprint. Then link dependency Puppet node classification 1 to vSphere machine. For Puppet node classification parameters, do next. For VMBox, click Advanced Setting, select Value on drop-down list, and select Field. Click Define Field Values. Expand Blueprint Outputs, expand CentOS, and select Machine Name. And click Apply. Drop down visible icon and select Content, then select No. And apply. Click inside Environment box. It's pre-populated with production. Right side for Required, select Yes, and for Value set Production and Apply. Class name fields contains classes paste to the Puppet, which will orchestrate the application installation. Normally this will be empty by default, giving you flexibility to determine what you want a Puppet to do. But if we take a look, we can exactly see what is being installed by Puppet, including Apache, PHP, MySQL, and WordPress. But we will add new class parameters, including the install URL, install directory, and version of WordPress. Let's add these three new class parameters. First, name WordPress install directory with this value. I will put all of these inputs on screen that you can see. For second, WordPress install URL with this value. And for third, WordPress version, you can put any version. And then click Save. Now we need to add system configuration to vSphere machine. Our new blueprint doesn't look too complex, but XaaS and Puppet will deploy full configured CentOS VM completely with Apache, PHP, MySQL, and WordPress service, and attach it to the network. Publish this blueprint and go to the catalog items. We need to add this blueprint to the catalog and assign the services, that WordPress services. Now we're going to deploy and test our blueprint, so sign in as dev user. Go to the catalog and request Corp WordPress Puppet blueprint and submit this request. I will call this simple deploy new instance. Once when deployment process was successful, let's define server IP address. And browse this address in web browser. And here we go. We are now got a new WordPress instance all set up and ready to be configured. Before we finish this video, let me show you how make blueprint as a code. Another new feature of vRealize 7 is the ability to import and export blueprint as industry standard YAML files using either the REST API or CLI. This means that is easier than ever before to share blueprints, enable you development staff to review and make the change, perform version control, and etc. Now we will use VMware Cloud Client CLI to export our new Corp WordPress Puppet blueprints to YAML file, edit it, then import it back to the catalog. As you can see, blueprint is set up for 1 CPU and 520 megabyte memory. Okay, let's open Cloud Client. Log into Cloud Client and list composite blueprints. I will display this syntax on the screen and you can retype if you need. So let's export a Corp WordPress Puppet blueprint to the desktop. Output on the screen will show you notification and export result. That was successful. Now let's increase the blueprint CPU count from 1 to 2. And let's increase the blueprint memory. Increase memory to 1024. Save this. And let's import Corp WordPress Puppet blueprint new version. In result, you can see that import was successful. You see, CPU count is changed to 2 and memory is also changed. You have just seen how easy it is to work with Blueprint as a code, an existing feature for DevOps teams that prefer a CLI or REST API over the browser-based graphic interface, or anyone looking for new ways to share blueprints. That was all for this video. In our next video session we will go through vRealize Automation 7.2 feature and explore container, code stream for DevOps, and easy scale out and scale in application development. Thanks for watching.